Welcome to Conversations in American Democracy. It's good to see everybody once again. I had in mind when I sent out the flyer one thing, and now there are 20 other things to talk about. Let me, a partially personal note. Now, what's her first name? Her name, a teacher in Jacksonville in the Duval County Schools by the name of Hope McMath. I don't know, is it nodding your head? Do you know that? Okay. She, and there was another para-educator. Hope McMath teaches advanced placement art history in high school in Duval County. She's the former executive director of the Cummer, is it Cummer or Cummer? Not Crummer. It's a museum, the Museum of Art in Jacksonville. She made some perhaps unkind comment about the plans to memorialize Charlie Kirk in the schools. For that, she has been put on administrative leave and lost her position, so has the other educator, and she now has, and by the way, the complaint against her came from Moms for Liberty, and she and the other woman dismissed or put on administrative leave, have now sued the Duval County School Board. And because I have a bit of a relationship with Hope McMath, I invited her to come to speak to one of our sessions. We'll see if she can, but she's getting lots of support. If you look on Facebook and other places, she deserves a lot of support. And you can express your own, as a teacher, you do not give up your right to express your own opinion, and freedom of speech and so on are that important.
Right.
So the next question, I mean, there are so many questions about immigration and drug boats, so-called drug boat. We don't know that they even have drugs on them. But you and I are being called upon to, they say it's tariff money, but in the end it belongs to us, money that will go to help farmers whose markets have been destroyed by tariffs because the farmers, voted for Donald Trump and they voted Republican. So they voted Republican, we have to pay, it seems to me. Am I being over there? Does that seem fair?
That's simple.
Yeah, okay. Is it oversimplified?
I think you may have oversimplified.
Okay, why so? By the way, I'm always subject to criticism, feel free.
Oh, no, I'm not criticizing.
No, you can criticize.
It's an oversimplification of a subject that, yes, the farmers did vote for him, but what they voted for and what he did are two different subjects.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Good point.
He displayed to the farmers, because from the first administration to this administration, the farmers were looking on him kindly because he was deregulating everything. He had those checks he was sending out. He was helping the farmers. They had no idea what the tariffs would actually do, and the program that he sold them, the tariffs as it was supposed to work, was a fallacy in the beginning. He explained to the farmers and the rest of the American people, we're not going to pay those tariffs. The other people are going to pay the tariffs, which logical, straight, normal people's thinking is, wait a minute, how are you going to force a foreign entity to pay taxes?
So you're saying that farmers didn't know he was a liar?
They denied it.
Okay.
Themselves.
They had no idea
Denial.
how batshit crazy it was going to get.
You don't think so? I'm okay.
I really don't think
Should they have known?
Yes.
Would a reasonable
Should have known.
person should? I mean,
The reasonable person should have known.
Yeah.
When he stands up and says affordability is a hoax, does even his base, do they believe him?
Well, you watched this
They still do.
thing from yesterday, this rally that he had the other day, and he had a lady talking that is a waitress and says, basically all of my tips, everything I earn now does not afford me anything but to pay my bills. And then he gets back up afterwards and says, basically what she's saying is a hoax. Like, he's talking bad about them in front of them, but he just can't seem to see the truth.
But he's also saying, don't spend your money so much on things like
Dolls.
Dolls and pencils,
Dolls.
pencils also.
Dolls and
What more would you have to,
Get to that next one.
I don't get the idea of talking about Donald Trump's logic or honesty. I mean, I don't think it's I mean, it might be cathartic to some degree, but it's, I mean, when the guy gets on television at a cabinet meeting and tells you he dropped drug prices by 800%, what else, you know, I think I've mentioned that, might have mentioned that one here before, but.
Where do you go from there?
Exactly. So I mean, said something that wasn't true?
Huh.
The guy can't add. I mean, well, it's that this guy is the president of the United States is just
A joke.
mind-boggling.
It's a joke. I'm gonna wake up one day and it's all gonna have been a dream.
Next time I go to CVS, when I give him $10, I'm going to say I want 70 back.
Yeah,
Try it.
I keep saying he turned over birthday cakes when he went as a child to other birthday parties. He turned over their birthday cakes just to be spiteful, just to be mean,
Right.
just to be.
Because it wasn't his birthday.
Exactly.
and he wasn't the center of attention,
Right,
like we were going to say.
Yeah.
And then Ken.
That's the
Everybody
guy.
has to understand that that group, the followers, get possibly as many as often as every 20 minutes or half an hour or so, they get messages from Trump and Trump's people
Right.
to reinforce all of this. And then they turn on Fox and they listen to that and it reinforces it. So they don't know any different. That's the echo chamber.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
is. It's the echo chamber.
I love that.
All right, Ken, but we have to ask, are we in a democratic echo chamber?
Maybe.
To some degree.
Yeah.
To some
Yeah.
degree,
Yeah, Ken.
but this kind of takes us back to where we left our last conversation. Everybody knew who Trump was. So the issue isn't who Trump is the issue is why did we elect him as a people?
It's the American
What
people.
Yeah.
Yes.
What in our psyche or moral compass or society said this is what we want to represent us
Right.
as a country?
To be the face of our nation, to be the
Right.
face of who we are, we want Donald Trump.
Because he said, make America great again, taking us back to another age.
Which he's never defined what that is.
Yeah.
Let us not forget.
Everybody knows
was
what it is.
Where's Kurt? What year? 39? Make Germany strong again.
See, I agree with making America great again, but I define what it is. It's pre-Ronald Reagan. That's when America was great. Ronald Reagan era is what enabled fascism to rise.
Right.
The deregulation of corporation and the trickle-down economics that never trickled down. That's what created the wealth that created the fascist movement. Ronald Reagan did that. So pre-Ronald Reagan, that's when America was great. I doubt that the Republicans will say that. That's one of their gods.
But Ken, I think we need, and I do this often and I have all the data here, the American people in 2024 did not elect Donald Trump. The majority of the American people didn't vote at all. That is the challenge. That is the message. That is what a candidate faces with, what Ernie struggled with when he ran.
They voted by not caring.
Okay.
Right.
There
But
it
they
is.
didn't vote. So
Right.
when you hear Fox say Donald Trump won in a landslide, lie. All of the committee, all the information, it's all about the numbers and the data and where we need to focus, my opinion, where we need to focus on is informing the people that they need to vote to participate. And if you chose Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, not to vote in the last election, then you are as guilty as anybody else. And you are, and what did we say right after the election? The pain is gonna be huge, people are gonna be hurt, and we need to just ride it
I
out.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
If the Democrats don't give you a good alternative, why? And after Joe Biden, I don't see what the Democrats have to offer.
Right, if you don't vote, because you don't like what the Democrats,
I don't like what either party does.
then you are tolerating and accepting the consequences.
And I will not tolerate
And
another
that's the
Trump.
message
I
that
don't,
I'm-
I don't want to tolerate another Trump, and I don't want to tolerate another Joe Biden, neither one.
But the question, my
Wow.
question is,
But if you had
Do you equate them?
so,
1 second.
Hold
Right,
on.
yeah.
Do you equate them?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Really? Okay.
Well, one is a traitor, and one is a coward to not prosecute a traitor.
Which one would
Which-
you rather have your grandchildren living under? If you had a choice.
I don't want my
one or the
grandchildren
other.
looking up to a traitor or a coward, either one.
But that is where the conversation, a candidate, and
You're
in
asking me to
speaking
choose
with
between a
the
traitor and a coward.
candidate.
So, I mean, if you have a president of the United States who tolerates treason, how is he any better than the traitor?
But elections in the United States, present company accepted, generally we wind up voting for the lesser of the two evils.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
Okay.
well, it's like,
No, but
It's been like that
that's our
for a long
system.
time.
We're
Yeah.
presented
And-
with two choices. With the
And that's been going on, in my mind, probably since Kennedy. Kennedy to me was the last great president we had. But that is where we've been programmed to accept the lesser of two evils.
No, I think it goes back to the first election. I mean, the
No,
lesser
I was
of two
gonna-
evils,
this-
there's always been somebody
It goes back-
running that you're not happy with.
It always goes back to Lincoln and Douglas, at least, right?
Yeah.
yeah, but
I may-
at what point did, so we are so desensitized and so detached from what the society could be or has become that we say, you know what? I'm not gonna vote because there's nothing there. Well, that literally says, well, I'm not gonna vote the devil out, so I'll just accept him as the devil and take him.
Have you ever watched the Netflix series Lucifer?
Uh-huh.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, so you're voting for the devil or you're voting for Maze?
So I guess my question is, and I've heard this from those that chose not to vote, that didn't like either party, they were far right or far left. In many cases, their intention was to see it all burn, all fail, get completely destroyed, and then rebuilt in the image of whoever's left
The
standing.
people that I talk to that think the way I think, we want to see the political parties burn.
But don't you?
And I think the
to
DNC
do
is the
that,
first to burn.
Don't you have to be in the party? If you want to change, you don't like it, you want to see it burn, get in the party and make the changes so you don't have to burn it, right?
I prefer what little voice I have to speak to both extremes, the Democrats and the Republicans, and tell them both the same thing. It's your party that's the problem. Your party is the problem. I tell the Republicans the same thing. Their party is the problem.
So why not start your independent, which we have, party and put the forces behind that? Because
I'm
if
a
what
member
Mark's
of-
saying is true, if that many people is the reason because they did not vote, why didn't they rally and do like the MAGAs did? They start their own thing.
Yeah.
And drive the force.
There's a movement to do that called Democratic Socialist America. We won New York. Bernie Sanders, he calls himself a socialist, so there is a movement doing that. There's a movement doing that, and I trust him. Okay? They haven't given me a reason not to trust him.
Go to Curtin after his comment. He's
What,
got-
what did the Democratic Party have to do with the last few elections?
The Democratic Party forced Joe Biden on us. Joe Biden was not.
No, I'm not talking, I'm talking about the last 3 elections that we've had. Was the Democratic Party even involved, other than it was on the ballot? I'm saying they didn't have anything to do with it, other than they were the alternative.
Yeah, yeah. They were-
So Trump is so bad that anybody as the alternative has to be a choice.
And that's why I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. But before he dropped out, I said I would not vote in 2024 if he was a candidate. I would decide to stay at home. I don't see where
We kind of all said that though.
Yeah, we
When we
did.
saw that,
that you would have stayed home if Joe Biden was a
when we
candidate.
saw that debate,
No.
I got to afford a debate. I'm
No,
all for a debate.
I would not have stayed home.
Yeah.
I would think that there are great defects in the Democrat Party, certainly on both sides, but great ones in the Democrat Party. But again, I'm gonna go back to this term that I keep on harping here, and that is matter of degree.
Yeah.
And what is the matter of degree that if we would have elected a senile, incompetent Joe Biden, who was surrounded by people
That knew, cared, and did their job.
that were taking care of their cronies too, but there's a matter of degree, okay? I don't see him making $10 billion in crypto while, you know, and blowing up ships over here, drug ships over here, and releasing a 400-ton guy over here and pardoning him. I just don't see those kinds of extreme abnormalcies coming from even a senile, disabled administration.
Yeah, that would vote for a horse rather than Donald Trump.
That Biden representing. So I think, again, I'm going to
Dave,
go back to
what are
this
you talking
idea,
about? What do we got now?
Again, of a matter of degree. And I think that the matter of degree of harm that could come to the country from electing Biden under those circumstances compared to electing Trump
Can't be measured.
To me, I think is obvious, but obviously
still-
not to you, I guess.
No, it is still the lesser of two evils. And like I
No, I don't disagree with that at all.
Right.
Yeah, so
I don't
what?
disagree with that at
But
all.
you know, the other thing you
We don't live in a perfect world.
I do not want another president who tolerates treason.
But you know what? The one thing Biden did say that everybody's blaming Biden for everything.
Yeah,
But you know what was the one thing he said that everybody kind of took it as a political statement that never gave its weight? Biden literally said, I am running for the morals of this country. And how right was he in that
Yeah,
statement?
he was absolutely right, and then he tolerated a
The
traitor.
morals.
And then he tolerated a traitor.
Who was the traitor?
Moral.
Who are you talking to?
It's good,
Donald Trump.
good versus evil.
Oh, I see. You're saying that.
His failure to
You're saying
prosecute.
that.
Yes.
So the failure of the president.
The failure to
Hold on a
prosecute,
second.
the intention of failure to prosecute.
Let me see if I understand your thinking a minute. You're upset that Biden administration did not aggressively early on go after and prosecute Donald Trump when we first got into power,
Right.
yet he constantly kept saying, I will keep my hands off the
Hands of
Justice
justice system.
Department.
Yes.
That's
To the
cowardice.
point where he
No,
didn't
that's
even
cowardice.
interfere
That's cowardice.
with his
In the
own.
face of treason, use
No,
every
no,
weapon you
no,
got.
yeah, hold on, so I'm just trying to follow your logic of, and I don't disagree. I would love to see the Democratic Party have the teeth, the viciousness, the survivability, the factor to go
You're saying
out.
balls. You want them to have balls.
To go and, but it's in
Mine's
defense
not enough for me to
of
say
people, not corporate. But you're talking about, you feel that the Biden administration knew all of these possibly criminal actions that our previous president had done and didn't order his Justice Department
He
to go
delayed it
after
a
this
year and a
guy, and yet what do
He
we?
delayed for a year and a half.
Understood, but I'm just saying, what is the one thing today
That we're upset about.
that is happening 10 times more aggressively? The Trump administration directing and ordering to go after political people.
Opponents. political
There's a
opponents.
perception of guardrails and understanding that aren't written anywhere, that an agreement of, and I want to be on the record saying I totally agree with you. Prior to Reagan, I think there needs to be high taxes on corporate, and there needs to be socialized medicine and all the things which we almost got early on. There's a great documentary on how Medicare and Medicaid came about, and dental and hearing and all that was in the package.
Right.
And the Republicans said they would never go for it unless
Right.
you drop those two. and now here today,
Right.
we're all retirees with half our issues covered. But I was just trying to understand the treason that you were describing, because I wasn't sure.
Well, you sure stretched that out by me simply saying, I will not tolerate, I don't want another president who's afraid to prosecute traitors.
And I don't want another traitor as
Right,
president.
right. So you think a president who is too cowardly to prosecute a traitor is okay? But
Better
it's-
than electing a traitor.
If he tolerates
And a
treason, what else will he
felon,
tolerate?
not a traitor, he's a
Third-
Is that a
Four
felon.
times
president's job?
No.
Act, no, it's
It
not.
is
It's
not.
the Justice Department.
Whoa, who's the Justice Department work for? Where's the butt
The
stop?
people.
The
Not
Justice
the
Department
president.
works for the, he's right. The Justice Department works for the people.
And the head of the Justice Department is hired by the President of the United States.
So let me understand this thing
But
then.
the norm was never that the president
Control
controlled
the
that
Justice
person.
Department.
Right.
The norm was always that that person was
In the
independent.
face of
That is
reason,
no
you have to throw
longer,
those
that
rules
is no
out.
longer the case.
Okay.
Well, but wait a minute now. So, but would you saying what you just said, that justifies Trump doing what he's doing? Because
No.
Trump's saying everybody he has the Justice Department going out is a traitor, is treasonous, and libelous to his presidency.
And
So he's
able
taking
to do
his
that because
justice.
he wasn't prosecuted.
Don't forget sedition.
That's why he's able to
And
do that.
sedition, yeah.
He's able to do that because he wasn't prosecuted. That's why he's able to do it.
Yeah,
That's
but-
what enabled him to do this.
Well, he's doing it because nobody's told him no yet. So for example.
Right, and that's
here's-
what Biden was supposed to do, is come and no.
You know,
No, he
why are
didn't
we
need
still
to be.
talking about Biden when it was Kamala who was running?
Right.
Well, I just said,
Kamala didn't get it,
because what
not
I
Biden.
said
Right, that's a
during
Biden-
that
that's a-
conversation
that's a
is if
traitor.
Biden had not stepped aside,
Trump's.
I would not have voted. That's what I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at it real time today. The Senate and the House of Representatives have for hundreds of years been able to put together standalone separate investigation committees.
Yep.
For example, the Fed, to oversee the three parties of our government to make sure they follow the rules. Those leaders, the people that were put 10-year positions, were put in place, selected by a president, and then for 10 years would have sustained multiple presidents. Donald Trump has fired all of
Yeah,
them,
check them out, yeah.
gone to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has ruled, well, they fall under
He's the president.
his part of it, so he can fire it, which totally
Why do you
dismantles
have the
the
Supreme
purpose.
Court that done that? Because of Ronald Reagan. That's why you've got that Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's
Ronald
the
Reagan's
Federalist
policies
Society.
Gave us the
They
Supreme
were-
Court.
they
we
were
have done.
all-
No, I don't,
Reagan.
all I'm saying is, the people that should be watching this are the House and the Senate.
Because the Republicans have
elected-
stacked the deck for the last 40 years. The Republicans have stacked the deck. They stacked the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And they was able to do that because of Reagan. If somebody had stood up to fascism when they could have, that would have put an end to it. If you send an ex-president to prison, I'll bet they wouldn't do it anymore.
So, what does
If Gore
tomorrow?
was president, all I'm saying, if Gore was president.
So then by your reasoning,
Which
Ford
Supreme
should have
Court
sent
made?
Nixon to prison.
Well, that's what,
Wait.
you have not forgiven Gerald Ford, have you, for pardoning?
No, you said Gore?
No,
Gore. No, I
Ford.
said
Gates.
Ford.
It's
Ford.
Nelson.
Ford. By your reasoning,
Another
Ford-
Republican.
Gerald
Ford should
Ford.
have sent Nixon to prison.
Gerald Ford.
And that was opposed, that was pre-Ronald Reagan, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Pre-Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
So it's been going on in the Republican Party before that, yeah.
Yeah, so,
I did say.
But not only that, it goes back farther. Abraham Lincoln should have hanged all the leaders of the Confederacy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
No,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay,
Well,
a lot of what's happening in this country today is because
Stems back to the Civil
Right,
War.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So we have failed every time there's been a treasonous act, we have failed to prosecute it.
Where Dave and Ken agree is the question is not who is Donald Trump, it's who are we?
Yeah, that's what I said that
And we
earlier. I
have
said, we
allowed
the Americans
this to
did,
happen. We have allowed-
And I said, the same thing is gonna happen with these bombing these boats. First of all, I think it should be a turnover to the ICC. Okay, that's not gonna happen because
Yeah.
we're Americans. We don't have to listen to the ICC, okay? But the pilot should be the first one prosecuted and work your way up the ladder from there.
Yeah. That's why the
Okay,
senators.
the pilot is the
said you
equivalent
can
of Lieutenant
disobey
William
the
Calley.
orders.
That pilot is the equivalent, not to that degree, but he's the Lieutenant
Yeah.
William Calley of this
Yeah.
issue.
Well, we understand why won't they release the videos? Because they're gonna show they're guilty. They're guilty of one thing, not war crimes. There's no war. They're guilty of murder. That's all there is to
I
it.
think this fascist movement has been, it's been moving probably since McCarthy, maybe earlier, but it was the Reagan administration that empowered it. And the Democrats don't do anything to stand up to it.
Kurt, the 13th Amendment.
Is that freedom of speech?
No,
No, more interesting.
no, it's,
No, it may have something.
it has
That's
to
me
do
being
with
a wise ass.
involuntary service.
Yeah.
That's me being a wise ass.
It may have more to do with who's garbage and who's not.
It definitely directly leads to the 14th
Yeah,
Amendment.
right, yes, yeah. I thought we got to the 14th in part was because the 13th wasn't the complete story. But again, the question of are there such things as people who are garbage? But anyway, go ahead, the 13th Amendment.
Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. And this was ratified 12/6, so we had an anniversary yesterday, in 1865. Okay, so neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime, whereof the parties shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. And the second part, Congress shall have the power to enforce the article by appropriate legislation. And that's the 13th Amendment. And of course, it does bleed. We're gonna have to talk about the 14th.
We'll talk about the 14th Amendment next week, and that
Big one.
closes the circle that leaves open, I believe.
Yeah.
And where's the outrage over calling people garbage? Where is the outrage? Last week we talked about, saying "shut up, piggy" or "be quiet, piggy."
Yes.
He did it again the following week, too,
Yeah,
another
yeah.
one.
Hey, he's
Disgusting.
a horrible person. Where were we that allowed him to, let's look at our inadequacy, where I think we're inadequate. How can we remedy our inadequacies so that this won't happen again? And what I'm referring to is what can we do about those inadequacies so that we can get a Democrat elected to Congress
Do
here
you
in
remember
District 6.
several months ago when I said America had 3 demons? Democracy, capitalism, and bad parenting? That's where it starts.
Yeah.
Those are America's 3 demons.
Okay.
And as a Reformed Catholic, the rites of exorcism says you have to know your demon's name to get rid of them.
Oh, yeah.
Democracy, capitalism, bad parenting, that's the demon's names.
Okay. Alligator Alcatraz. First of all, do we understand what happened? By the way, does anybody understand what's going on in Alligator Alcatraz?
Now, right
They've,
now.
lo- yeah, they've lost, what, 1,800 prisoners they can't account for or something like
It's
that?
still open.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
fully functional. It's,
It
Yeah,
functions.
well,
There's no one there.
Yeah.
I thought it was shut down.
No, they,
It's not shut down,
By
but
the
there's
way,
no one
that's-
there.
That's what because we got that from Fox TV, I think. That it was shut down.
I think they shut it down for a period of time, and then a judge ordered that it was okay to be.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that it was.
There was a whole story
And
on
they're still
television
sending
about
people
that
there?
this morning. That-
Yeah.
That all the abuse that's going on there,
Unchecked.
unchecked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if the abuse is being done by federal agent, you can't check it.
Well, now, who's running it? Are we running it because it's the state, or is the federal government running it because?
It's the federal government.
I thought the state was running it, but it's being paid for by the federal government.
That's what I thought. They were using the state
State resources.
supposedly using their resources on behalf of the federal government,
And-
which are supposed to reimburse
Them, right, exactly.
Which-
That's what I
the
thought.
check
But we know
hasn't
this is
come.
Trump, he never pays his bills. So
That's
we
right.
don't know.
Right,
Till
yeah.
the end,
We'll be
it's
paying for it,
bankruptcy.
we're Floridians will be paying for it.
He'll give you some smart dollars.
So what I'm pretty, at least what I've taken it on it, one, it's federal land, it's an old military base from Cold War.
That's an old airport, right?
Yeah, that they're
Training-
using with
training
like
gear.
kind of
Okay.
different things. The state helped kind of bring it back online using state funds. Supposedly we're going to get reimbursed from FEMA. I
FEMA
don't,
still exists?
No.
to whatever extent that is.
Yeah.
But it's federal government that's running.
Running.
Yes, and then they are basically utilizing, have agreements with all the counties and their law enforcement to basically act as agents instead of having true ICE agents, even though we do have ICE operating. They're basically recruiting local law enforcement to pay for that, or to take up for that. So it's like federal funds coming in, but it's local and state agencies acting on
And
behalf.
who's tracing whether we ever got that money, and who's following the money is another story.
Yeah.
How do we know we ever got it, or will get it?
Because
Because it's
locally,
usually been, pilfered by the state, We're still worrying about that money from the charity that got
But if you
stolen.
see locally, like the local, I remember, I think it was Flagler County, the sheriff talking about having a cooperation with the jails. And,
Right.
hey, we have these beds, we've taken in these immigrants or illegals, and now they get paid for each bed that they put somebody in.
but we don't know if they've ever, this is kind of like, we're taking their word
Right.
that they're gonna pay us for that, because that was a question I asked early on when Flagler County started saying, yeah, we can handle inmates for ICE and stuff. I'm like, well, wait a minute. So you're now telling me you've got enough money in your budget in Flagler that you can pop for 100 beds and the people to secure them and feed them, then you don't need to come before the budget committee next year and complain that the sheriff's department has enough money.
It's gonna happen.
At least that's
We're
my,
paying.
that's my line of thought there.
We'll use a snippet of this in next year and say, just exactly that, when he's coming up for looking for more money,
Yeah.
another million.
Well, he'll say that he needs more money because he housed 100 extra people and how to feed them and how to do all that. He'll use that as the excuse to get more money.
See, get Trump coin.
Yeah, I have to get those
But
coins.
you don't lose sight of the fact that the plan was never to house and retain
No.
these people. There's an estimate that once you are swept up and you go through their marginal process, you're gone within 30 days.
In theory.
In theory, well, it's happening. There are transit flights constantly going on. Part of the reason that because it had the airport down there,
Right.
that they could bring people there by bus, put them on planes and be
Planes,
gone.
send them down.
So the biggest complaint that I'm hearing from the Democratic side or the left wing is there's no data to keep up with because they're gone faster than the data can keep up with them
Right.
back to their country, back to wherever, like we just,
That's what
we
the
love the school
lawyers all over the
teacher
country
that
are
got pulled
complaining.
off the airport and whatever, she's already in Honduras and that was only like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what the attorneys are complaining about. They can't follow where the people went.
Well,
They're
they're-
trying to represent
right.
them and they first have to
They're
find them.
gone, yeah,
Yeah.
they're gone.
And
So-
isn't that a violation? What about due process there?
They're
Yeah.
saying that they don't deserve due process
citizens,
because they're not
so-
It's all
citizens.
interpretation.
And that is going up through the courts right now.
Right, because I think, doesn't the Constitution
Fifth
say, once you're,
No, I agree,
The Fifth Amendment.
but we don't know, I can't rely on the,
If you live in the United States and are
All
subject to
persons.
All
law.
persons.
Yeah,
All
subject-
persons.
Subject to American laws.
right,
Yeah,
so if
yeah.
I put my foot
Right.
on American soil,
You are subject to our laws and therefore due process applies.
There you go.
That's the way I understand it.
yeah, that's
that's
right.
the way.
Should've
I'm not a lawyer, I just play one on Facebook.
And another angle supporting that is that due process is a fancy term for it, but when you say the general idea that the government can't interfere with your happiness, your pursuit of happiness, your freedom, etc., that's exactly what this is talking about. It's suggested that it's God-given, that you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is not given to you by the government.
No, that, yeah, I understand what you're
It's an
saying.
unalienable right.
It's
There was a
unalienable, so if it's an
Unalienable.
unalienable right, it's not a right that was given to you by the government.
Right, it cannot
That's-
be taken away.
Exactly.
Cannot
So
be
I'm
taken
saying
away.
it goes to a even higher power than, does the Constitution recognize this or not? Our standing as a country, our understanding of ourselves as Americans, accept the idea that you're a human being and you have certain rights.
Right, I mean,
And the government can't take those away. Masked man can't just grab you, throw you into a truck, put you on an airplane and send you somewhere else. You have to, obviously, in America, you have to be able to defend yourself and give your side of the story.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not what's happening.
Oh, really?
No.
That's
No,
disgusting
no,
what's
But-
happening.
but-
Someone should do something about
But
that.
wait a minute now, you know, if you
We
historically,
can in
we have
November.
never, we've historically, we've danced around this since slavery. Because if you take the masked men, put them on horseback, provide a tree and some straw, how many African Americans died at the end of a rope
They weren't-
because they just didn't like them?
Yeah, no, the change now is that it's government agents instead of Ku Klux Klan. That's it, yeah.
Well, I was sharing this in my podcast yesterday when I watched a PBS special. It was talking about the history of immigration last 100 years. And they were insinuating that the tolerance of the political parties both to allow and understand that these undocumented, illegal, however you want to call them, immigrants that were coming across and filling jobs that most people aren't interested in. Picking tomatoes and strawberries in the middle of the summer. Dishwasher, I mean, that it named, and it actually interviewed a bunch of these people. I've been here 25 years. I can't speak the language, so I never took the test. And I've been here and they've never bothered me. It was tolerated. And there was an assumption made that this was the equivalent or the replacement for slavery.
Yeah.
Because they went all the way back to prior to the revolution, which if you're watching Ken Burns right now, it's very interesting, was the British needed all of this product, the plantation owners didn't have the manpower to do these huge fields, so they brought in indentured and slave servants to pick the products to fill it. That is no different than what is happening or what was happening in our culture 5 years ago, and it's why they suggest that our political parties, both sides, tolerated because it served a need that the farmers needed and red and blue states, and that they would come in, do all this work that no one else wanted. In fact, USA Facts, is done by Steve Ballmer, said our industry needs a minimum of 15 million immigrants a year
Yes.
to make up for the loss of death, the loss of moving, and all of that transition. So it's almost like this balancing act, right? You need 12 employees to run your business. 6, you fail. Any more than that, you go out of business because you can't afford them. It was an interesting concept because I've always wondered, why was it tolerated for all these years? Because immigration across our border has been happening
Forever.
for
all our.
There's a
long
simple
time.
answer to all that, okay? It's one of America's 3 demons, capitalism. That's the reason, that's the demon right there. That's the demon that caused all that. It's the demon that caused slavery, okay?
I think it's different though, like,
There's a
the
native-
difference between indentured servants and slavery and what was happening just a few years ago is that these the newer immigrants were doing it voluntarily. They didn't get snatched out of their country and brought here.
Well, I
You know,
think
so
but
so
I
it
would
was different.
define voluntary
Yeah,
by.
well,
you know,
maybe they had no other job, but it wasn't like they got snatched and brought here
I-
and now forced.
Oh, no, I'm not
that's
denying
the
that.
immigration.
They did it
I don't think he's trying to draw a parallel.
No,
The
not at all.
immigration assimilation process there's been a pattern going all the way back to the Civil War.
Before.
The immigrants tend to take the path, they don't tend to, they're forced into a path of cheap labor or criminality, okay? The Irish, when the Irish after the Civil War, they were recruited to fight for the North against the Civil War. After that, didn't have jobs, they moved out west. Billy the Kid was Irish.
They built the
Sundance,
railroads.
right. The McClarys and McCoys out in the gunfighting located around, they were all Irish. Then came the Italians, they formed the mafia. They've always been forced into a life of crime, okay?
There was a great riot in New York City in 1863,
Yeah.
when Lincoln wanted to get the Irish, and the Irish as a mass
Right.
had a huge eruption right in New York City. They refused to go.
That was
Oh, yeah.
And it was
The draft at that time allowed wealthy people to pay poor people to serve for them, and they used the Irish immigrants. Wealthy people were paying them to serve in the military on their behalf.
Well, that was happening in the
That was the Irish who went through
Revolution.
that,
That was happening all the way back in the
Yeah.
Revolution.
My great
I just found it to
great
be,
uncle died that way.
Yeah.
you know, an interesting thing, because I would be willing to bet there's not one person at this table that hasn't probably either by your knowledge or by not having the knowledge that some undocumented immigrant touched your life or provided a service for you.
My father was an undocumented
Well, and my
immigrant.
point is, I mean, it's like that 6 levels of, what do they call it?
Separation.
Separation,
Right.
to where there was a need. And it was tolerated. This wasn't a Biden thing or a Trump thing or a Reagan thing. This was a need of a farmer in Texas that needed help and he couldn't hire, no one wanted to help him. And he had these undocumented walkover and they showed up and they worked. They're phenomenal, hardworking employees. And they're not going away. I don't care what you think you can do, sweep them up, do whatever, because the need exists due to capitalism
I
and
think
other things.
Part of the issue is that they've done studies that were showing that with the next census, there's gonna be more of a Hispanic population in the country than white. So they're trying to they're in a panic, round up as many of them as they can get and get them out of here so that those numbers don't show up on a census.
Not possible.
Next is birthright citizenship.
There's where I was getting ready to go.
Go ahead.
Which is being
I was
challenged right
like,
now.
so given he is now challenging
He's challenging.
birthright citizenship.
And the Supreme Court said they'll hear it.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, that's what
Here,
Which is really.
That should have never been,
That's-
that should have never been accepted.
So,
Should have never been accepted.
the question you should be asking, or I hope the Supreme Court asks, is, so how far back do we look at birthright
That's
citizenship?
what I said, that would affect me. Okay, my father was an
It
illegal.
would literally affect
You're in
probably
trouble.
everybody in this building right now.
And I still,
You
I still
can probably
wouldn't
go
vote for
far
Biden.
enough back to find out, yeah, great so-and-so's 14th time removed came over here. So technically, if you're not a Native American, you're not an
You don't
actual,
belong here.
you don't belong.
Yeah. Well,
I said, I come from
don't
a very
forget
large
Trump's
family.
Scottish roots.
I'm the youngest of 8 siblings. I'm the youngest still alive, but I have dozens of nieces and nephews. They all support Donald Trump. I said, do you realize that your father, my brother, is the son of an illegal alien? Do you guys even realize that? Yeah.
Well, isn't his
That's his
father's,
son.
Trump's father's not originally from here, is he?
Right. No, his father, I think his grandfather.
Or is it mother?
Yeah, his
Mother from
grandfather.
Scotland.
is
Yeah,
Scotland.
mother's from Scotland.
Scotland, yeah.
And this will affect
way back when
Melania
the person
and
landed-
Barrett.
Oh, definitely.
Melania
There,
Melania is a
yeah.
great
Did
example.
they have
Yeah.
a visa?
I still have hope in support the Supreme
Well,
Court.
somebody,
I can't imagine why they agreed to hear it and to start with. I can't imagine they're doing it.
Yeah, because
It
they're,
muddies the
Science.
waters.
Because the Constitution is so
Well,
clear on the
They're
Going
subject.
through on this
Conversation
island
is
provided
what
you with
so.
the documentation to begin your trip to
Right.
citizenship.
but they didn't have it before.
No.
And just about everybody got
let's
it.
note on the issue of the 13th Amendment that in America, and I believe in the British colonies, it started in the British colonies, but in America, something unusual happened. When you purchased a slave, any child born to that slave was also a slave. And that's not true in other societies. When you buy a slave, you buy the slave. The children of the are not necessarily slaves.
Except in the caste system. In the
Oh,
caste
yeah,
system,
that's, yeah.
if your mother was
Here in
a
Canada,
housemaker, or a maid,
Or not.
that's as high as you would ever get
That's,
in that system.
yeah.
No matter how smart you were, you're still a maid.
Yeah. Okay, the chief financial officer of Florida, his name is Ngoglia, I believe, has been going to local municipalities and checking and looking into fraud and looking into problems related to the finances of various cities and counties. Went to Orlando. His wife's name is Valerie. Is what the mayor Jerry Deming literally threw him out and yelled. But he's come to Daytona Beach and in fact found problems in the finances of Daytona Beach. That at the same time as, and I think Elaine made mention of this, my bias, and that is 30,000 students have accepted up to $8,000 each in vouchers to go to a private school and then went to the public school. So we have lost through the voucher system, fraud, $250 million, yet the state financial officer has time and effort and energy and attention to look at little municipalities and so on. Why are we so tolerant of this fraudulent voucher system?
I don't think anybody
We
knew
elect
what was going on.
Republicans.
I first found out about it when we had a speaker from the school system come to speak to our group.
Right.
And, she started, naming numbers and, everybody's eyeballs were falling out of their head, like, how did we not know about this? And what do we do about this? And, how do you follow up on something like that? Now that you're outraged, how do you express that outrage? And who do they get this money back from? That's what I'd like to know.
That's why we have elections. So we need to ask.
No, but if the parent, I'm just saying, if the parents got the money,
No.
how do you get it back? You're gonna throw all of them in jail too?
There's an answer, and it's a bill has been, this is the time that bills go into the hopper for the state legislature. The longest bill ever presented to the state legislature is 310 pages, is currently in the hopper to remedy the voucher system. It's gonna take 310 pages of a bill that none of them are gonna read anyway.
I believe as we speak, if you were one of those parents and you got that money and your kid didn't go to a private school, I don't think there's a mechanism for you to return that money if you want to.
That's what I'm saying, like,
Yes.
how do we get the money back?
Yeah.
But here, I think the bigger problem is gonna be this. The answer is, then why don't we prop up our public schools?
Yeah, well.
Where we wouldn't have to do this, and have corporations create charter schools to custom tailor people.
Because public schools is a socialist system, and the Republican Party don't like socialism in any form.
And you'll notice
So they
that
rather put up with the fraud
Right.
than
But there's
provide a
religion
system
involved,
for
there's more
everybody to be
religion.
equally educated.
Right.
Well, they're under less scrutiny for banning books,
Right.
for bringing religion
Separation of church and state.
bringing religion into the
Bullshit.
schools.
Yeah.
There's a number of reasons
Right.
that they prefer.
That all fits into the Republican agenda. All those reasons fit into the Republican agenda.
So for them to rectify the cash situation, they'd have to acknowledge the system they put in place
Right.
has bigger flaws than the system that exists.
Right.
Right.
Or am I missing something?
No, well, and let's note, I haven't know this by heart, that Article 9 of the Florida Constitution, Section 1, says that the state is responsible for creating a universal system, that's one, universal system of high-quality public education. And now they have created all sorts of other alternatives because, by the way, and Moms for Liberty is famous for calling them government schools. It's okay, and the government is bad. They reject, therefore, the notion that ours is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
But if you think of what they're saying, government schools, that immediately conjures up indoctrination.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
They're making it look like the government is indoctrinating your children.
When-
When in fact, it's what they're doing.
That's all
Unlike the
projection,
Christian
that's a
churches.
strong projection.
Yeah.
Of course, exactly what they want to do, because it's religion.
Yeah.
It's religion what they really want taught in school.
I think the
Their religion,
the
not the
Christian,
Oh,
religion.
yeah.
the
Yeah.
Christian
that's-
movement in
yeah.
this country is behind a lot of the stuff that's going on. The Christian movement is behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's their religion, and therefore should care. What's it, the Council on Islamic American
Yes.
Relations, yeah.
Should they be a terrorist organization?
Yes. No. Should they be a terrorist? No.
Okay.
Why?
That's ridiculous.
Should we teach our,
I think they're saying.
and I think we should stop teaching our children Arabic numerals in
Yeah.
school also. This is ridiculous.
Well-
They're taking over everything.
And those people will say, yeah, let's do that. Let's continue that.
Latin. Why should they learn Latin?
Latin, and Latin letters, but well, an algebra, that was an Arabic word, and in fact, and disappointingly, I'm a big supporter of Lashakya Moore, our superintendent of schools, but she thinks that the algebra requirement should be removed from. Why? Because we score so poorly on algebra.
Oh, it's
because,
gonna make
yeah,
the numbers look bad.
Yeah, exactly. Make the numbers look bad, just as private schools and
You know,
schools
there's a
in
lot of kids who would like
I just,
the algebra removed.
You know what?
I just,
Forget
never
about
used it.
Shakespeare and forget about anything. That's chat.
I have,
I'll ask
Yeah.
AI.
I have every answer right here.
Right.
don't need
Teacher that said you never have a calculator with you ever. Actually.
Yeah, that's-
I had Thanksgiving dinner with some friends of mine, and another friend of theirs who I didn't know until he was there is from Switzerland. So he and I got in conversations about European culture versus here, and the metric system and so forth, and how much trouble he has converting metric into American way of doing. And I said, yeah, when I lived in Italy, I was the same way. I said, and I figured out the mathematics behind figuring out different temperatures and everything. There's a mathematical degree to do that. But he said, didn't you guys try once to use the metric system? I said, yeah.
Yes, we did.
And the leaders of this country decided Americans were too stupid to learn it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it was. We were too stupid to learn
And they
it.
spent a lot of money on
I
trying to
know,
convert
yeah, I know.
our brains into that.
Now, I will say that was Jimmy Carter, and I said I was not a big fan of his, but that was him that tried to promote that, I believe. He tried to promote it.
And why is English the most widely spoken language in the world? Because we
won't learn a foreign language.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
refuse.
and actually, my friends in Italy,
yeah.
they say that, they say, you guys are like 50 small countries all speaking the same language, and nobody knows the second language.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not speaking the same language.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
problem.
Al, are you,
No, I'm trying to get their attention so they
Okay.
come in, so.
all right.
Keep going, keep going.
Al has arranged for Dee and Kelly to come in, and we'll present them his gift cards and thank them and so on.
Continue.
Yeah, okay, other topics, issues
So I'd like
that
to
are?
present something for your,
Consideration.
Thought?
so at the last city council meeting, at the very end, after public conversations, which I've been aggressively trying to change, Councilman Ty Miller announced that the TPO, which is the transportation funding group for the state, he had attended a meeting in which Flagler and Volusia County had gotten less than 6% of almost $900 million in transportation money. And that no dollars for the foreseeable future were going to be provided to help in any way, shape, or form 100, which we all drive on. So my question to you
State
is,
Route 100,
should the
Movie Boat.
city continue to allow the building of strip malls, big box stores, adding to the traffic on 100, which is a state road, it's not a Palm Coast road, to cause it to be such a problem? And this goes back to the functionality of our government. We only fix the loudest squealing person at the table because the city council is leaning to believing that path of continuing growth, continuing to add. Everybody knows there's a big box store going in near BJ's. There's another big one going in behind, by the pet store, behind the Italian restaurant. I think Home Goods or whatever, all of these ads. And so I posed the question to them, and they said, our goal is to bring businesses in that hire people because we need taxation growth. But yet, the other day, I'm getting off of 95 headed south onto 100, and the road, the traffic was already backed up all the way onto the highway.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna get
It's
crazy
gonna get
too,
worse.
it's holidays now, it's
So,
never gonna get better.
what are your thoughts? Do you think the city's doing the right thing by making it a disaster before the state will
But
give
that's
us
what
money to
every
fix it?
city has been doing.
Oh, that's the plan.
That's the plan
That's
from the
the
developers
plan.
as well.
Why, I wanna know why why aren't we getting any money?
Yeah, are we hiring enough lobbyists to pay?
What's going on with that?
Because the state is saying that they only have so much money. They are using more of a grant system of demand and need, and until you can show that the house is on fire and it's gonna fall apart, that's when they'll send the fire department, which goes to what you had said, and it's the way they are running our city. Hence why we have a $600 million debt to the water system.
Oh.
We've known for 20 years we need to fix it.
Well, if you look like even what happening right now in Benel, right? They,
Oh, that you were at the land.
well, the last one I was just at, yesterday or the day before, was the approval of the US 1 park, industrial park off of US 1.
Several thousand acres.
It's 1,300 acres, has the potential of having 13 million square feet of building. They are not, so a part of like the city's bylaws is to say, hey, we're not gonna change our zoning regulation unless we know what's going into these
No, they're
places.
coming.
And they've stopped that.
Let's pause for that just a second.
Hi, everybody.
I want to express our gratitude to you guys for, we know we've been a pain in the neck from
No, you
time to
haven't.
time over the course of the, and we want to express our gratitude for all the good service and all the kindness that you have given us.
That's
Well,
very
thank you
nice.
very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna miss you all.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yes,
everybody.
we
We're gonna miss you all.
miss
You guys
as
are
well.
awesome.
And-
Thank you.
We couldn't do it without you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
right, you are
Good time,
essential.
it's a good time.
You are essential, so thank you very much, and have a Merry Christmas.
Merry
Yes.
Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, take care, then we'll, in a few minutes, we'll call for our food.
So you're saying they stopped the plan?
No, they approved it.
Yeah.
They approved it.
So they approved it 3-2 with just on the hope that, oh, we'll trust the developers. But it also, like, that's also happened, and this is just this city council as an example, but it's what we see everywhere. The developer will come in, promise a new fire station, promise some type of like city infrastructure that benefits the development or whatever they're trying to build. And then the rest of it is just like, we'll handle it as we can. So like the city there will say, traffic. Well, the state won't supply some different things and we'll address it as we see fit. That's never gonna be addressed. And now that's what's happening on 100 right now is
And road
it's
repairs.
overbuilt and no one
I wanna
is.
know
Repairs and then some. So I believe we can demonstrate what I regard as a major part of the problem by asking around this table, what's the name of the man who represents us in the Florida House of Representatives?
Fine.
No, leaks.
No, fine is US, leaks in the Senate, in the state Senate.
Oh, then,
So we don't even know, and leaks is
No.
not up because
No.
the Senate terms are longer, but the person who represents us in the state House of Representatives' name is either Greco. And
Whose
so the fact
father
that we,
was.
and by the way, so we represent a bunch of people who are really tuned into our government, right?
Yes, yeah.
So the people who live next door to us and across the street from us have no idea how important the election is, and do we even have a Democratic candidate, a Democratic Party candidate to run against him? Adam Morley has
No,
waved the white flag. How many times
And I think he was a good candidate.
He was the Harold Stassen. Now that's, you have to be old to know who Harold Stassen was. Okay, he ran for president, and he could have a presidential election from World War II until the Reagan era.
Like Nader.
And Adam Morley kept running. Can we defeat this guy just on the basis of saying, look at the traffic we have to deal with? That's in part because the state has not come through, because Greco is a tool of the state.
representing us.
And by the way, we keep electing realtors to local government, and then are surprised that they push development.
Right.
Are surprised that they want to, and I'm a bit of a Joan Baez fan, want to pave Paradise and put up a parking lot. And then we put up with that.
It's all money, it's all,
It
we
is all
finally
money,
have to
yeah.
stand up to it. That's gonna be the
And I'm
change.
not getting any of it.
That's
Well-
also,
Good reason to speak up.
yeah, and we all have to, I'm not concerned about anybody around this table voting, but I'm concerned about, again, your next door neighbors. And the people who live across the street, and their next door neighbors. And we need to get more people registered, and we need to get more people tuned into this. Instead of just bitching about traffic or growth or development, that they need to show their displeasure at the polls.
Stand up.
At any rate,
On that
yeah. At any rate, with that, we'll conclude and save our discussion, the remainder of any discussion for next week. And next week, again, we'll meet in the library, and that will be the final of 2025, and then in 2026, I still want to say 19. 2026, we'll meet at the Democratic Party headquarters. So thank you all, and stay tuned for next week. Thanks Suncoast Media, by the way, the Rotondos. They've made this all possible, so go look, and in your notices, it also says, go and look at the latest episode and leave a comment, and you'll look at a number, by the way, about how many views, and we want to keep that number as high as possible. So tell your friends
And
and
share
neighbors.
it, share the link.
Yeah, share the link and let people know. Thank you.
Let's not forget about.
Oh, and then, okay, now ponder it, and also an advertisement for Ponderings of Palm Coast. You want to talk, you want to say where? Okay, go and look at that as well. Leave comments. Yeah. Thank you very much.
See you next week.
Okay, see you next week. Thanks.